Joining us now on set, the Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs at the Department of Homeland Security, Tricia McLaughlin. Tricia, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Peter.
3 days till New Year's Eve.
3 days.
How worried do people in this country, in big crowds celebrating, need to be about their safety?
I think people should be aware of their surroundings. It sounds a little trite, but if you see something, say something, you can really make a difference. But, we're not going to bend the knee to these cowards, these terrorists, as we've seen in the past. And so Americans should go out. They should celebrate this great year we've had, be with friends and family, but just be aware of your surroundings.
And when people are looking for something possibly out of place, how worried do they need to be about a repeat of what happened last New Year's Eve on Bourbon Street, which would be like a vehicle ramming attack?
Homeland Security Investigations, FBI, and other local law enforcement partners, we did just foil a planned attack for New Year's Eve where there are coordinated bombings by a very far-left terrorist organization. But that being said, I think what the Trump administration has done so well is really breaking down these silos in the intelligence community. Left hand and right hand really know what each other are doing. So we foiled those attacks, and we are going to continue doing that going forward, Peter.
The biggest New Year's celebration in the world every year, Times Square.
Yes.
There is this new report, DHS, your department, and the FBI, about lone wolf threats, the possibility of lone wolf threats. ABC published part of it. It says lone offenders remain a particular concern due to their frequent ability to avoid detection until operational. Al-Qaeda and ISIS and their supporters continue to demonstrate an interest in targeting special events in the homeland, as well as U.S. officials and other perceived enemies. Do people need to worry, or can they just be vigilant?
I think you just be vigilant. You should always be aware when you're in large crowds or going to a large event, whether it be New Year's Eve, the Super Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the America 250, these great events that are coming up. But what terrorists want is they want us to be afraid. And they want us to fear and not go out and celebrate our lives and our family and our great country. So don't bend the knee, get out there, go celebrate, but be aware.
And there has been enough recent radical Islamic terror around the world that we've got a list of cities that are canceling New Year's celebrations in Bali and Belgrade, Hong Kong, Jakarta, Monaco, Paris, Sydney, and Tokyo. Have you guys heard from any American mayors about specific concerns celebrating this year? No,
we're working very closely with local and state law enforcement, but Americans are going to continue to go out and celebrate. That's what we want. We're Americans. We don't bend the knee to these terrorist organizations, and so we're going to continue to be safe and vigilant. I know New Orleans, they're going to have the National Guard down there to help with those celebrations in New Orleans, as well as the Super Bowl and the Sugar Bowl coming up.
Switching gears, a big part of your department's crackdown on illegal immigration has been to find these illegal immigrants with commercial driver's licenses, even the ones who might not speak enough English to read street signs, and then cancel those licenses.
Absolutely.
Now, some of these migrants with the wrongfully issued CDLs are suing the California DMV. Your thoughts?
Insanity is my immediate thought. Secretary Duffy at Department of Transportation has been fantastic, as well as Secretary Noem has made this a major focus operationally. Get these people off of our roads. When you have someone who is driving an 18-wheeler or one of these big rig vehicles, that is like a missile coming down American roads. And the fact of the matter is, the California DMV, it is illegal under their sanctuary city politician, Gavin Newsom. It is illegal for them to ask the legal status of one of these drivers.
It sounds crazy. One of the guys trying to get these CDLs uncanceled on behalf of a group of these migrants says the state of California must help these 20,000 drivers because at the end of the day, the clerical errors threatening their livelihoods are of the DMV's own making. If the court does not issue a stay, we will see a devastating wave of unemployment. Is that going to fly in court? Just give these guys who might not be able to read street signs driving an 18-wheeler, a missile, as you said, give them back their jobs so that they have a job.
That statement was really nonsensical, first of all. But I will say, for those who are in this country illegally, if you're driving, first of all, that is illegal. You should not be driving on our roads. But we are giving you a fantastic opportunity. The U.S. taxpayer has been very generous. $3,000 to leave now, free flight home, and potentially come back the right legal way. Unbelievably generous to the U.S. taxpayer this Christmas season.
Chad Wolf, who used to be the acting DHS director, is talking about that here.
You had states like California that was just handing out driver's license because they believed they needed to put these people to work instead of removing them, many of them, did not, just don't understand English and don't understand the traffic signs, don't understand the what it takes to actually operate a CDL. So I think it's very concerning, but I do think the larger crackdown is coming.
Is a larger crackdown coming?
Yes, we've seen operations we're really focused on highways. We're working with states like Indiana, Florida to make sure that those who are driving on our roads, whether they're getting these illegal driver's license from California, we're making sure wherever they are in the country, we're going to track them down.
We learned this week that the Laken-Riley Act, signed into law by President Trump this year, which lets you guys deport illegal immigrants just when they get arrested for certain crimes, even if they haven't been convicted of anything, has led to 17,500 deportations so far. Is that about everybody that you guys are expecting to get out that way with the Laken-Riley Act, or is that number going to grow?
That's just going to grow exponentially. We're really going to be ramping that up. In just the last 2 weeks under that Laken-Riley Act, 1,000 criminal illegal aliens have been arrested. And so what President Trump, when he signed that into law, what he did is he's mandating the detention of those who are just charged for something like burglary or other criminal activity. Get them off of our streets, out of our country, so they can't go on to commit more crimes.
And as part of this end of the year Sunday briefing, what is something that you can tell our audience that they need to be on the lookout for in the new year, in 2026?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think you're going to see deportations continue to ramp up under President Trump. We have 10,000 new ICE agents on the ground today, which is incredibly exciting. And so whether it be in sanctuary city like Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, more deportations coming.
Well, we know that this show is squeezed in between Christmas and New Year's. Thank you very much for joining us on set. Tricia McLaughlin.
Happy New Year.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.